Hey, good morning. I'm really excited today because just in time for our Worker Gen 2 versus Worker Gen 3 review, we got an announcement last night that Blastertech have convinced Worker to release a red Worker Gen 2. Now, of course, this isn't a real one. They're not even in Australia yet. I just did some arts and crafts last night and made some out of red darts with just Worker Gen 3 heads on them. So why I want these two are exactly the same dart in every way except for the color, which means today we can test what's the accuracy, what's the durability, what's the FPS, and do a direct comparison and tell you what the red ones are going to be like. And for the findability test, thanks to Arts and Craft, we can do a findability test as well, meaning we can get full data, compare it to the Worker Gen 3s. Now, the Worker Gen 3s I have are the ones where the heads blow off. So this is the 407 run. There is a later run. If you buy them from, say, Blastertech today, they're gonna have better glue. So that's the only thing to keep in mind. The performance will be the same. Today, I'll be firing out of the Worker Swift, so we get good data against all the other dart types that we've tested over the last 2 weeks. And I'll be testing the Nexus Pro because a Nexus Pro with metal and an upgraded spring is pretty much what a lot of people use when they go to Sydney Nerf, and they use this purple dart as well. So that'll give us a good data comparison. Let's go and find out.
Okay, firing the purple Worker Gen 3s out of the Swift. $267, $256, $271, $251, $262. 265, 267, 265, 262, 265. I think that's it. Yep. Firing the black or red Worker Gen 2 high performance darts out of the Worker Swift. 282, 282, 292. I clipped it, don't count that one. 282, 282. Oh, that's consistent. 269, just to get me wrong. 282, we're back. 284, 279, that's it. Firing the purple Worker Gen 3s out of the Nexus Pro with upgraded spring from Blastertech and the metal internals. 158, 137, 143, 158, 130, 149, 135, 155, 114, I think I clipped that one, 149, that's it. Firing the black or red Worker Gen 2s out of the Nexus Pro. 180, 189, 184, 184, 179, 184, 175, 186, 181, 188, 172. That's it.
Okay, so for accuracy, I'll be testing the purple and then the black out of the Swift, then the purple, then the black out of the Nexus Pro. And I'll be aiming
at the pillow over there and trying to hit the little clock that's in the middle, the one that's not touching any other clocks. This is firing the purple Gen 3 out of the Swift. This is firing the black Worker Gen 2 out of the Swift. This is firing the purple Worker Gen 3s out of the Nexus Pro with an upgraded spring and metal internals. This is firing the black Worker Gen 2s out of the same Nexus Pro.
Okay, so next we're going to test impact. This is personal preference. If you're playing with kids, you probably want it to be softer. If you're playing with adults, maybe you don't want the ref to have to keep telling you you've been tagged because you didn't feel it, so you want it to hurt as much as possible. I think the writing's on the wall, but I'm going to do the more painful ones first, hopefully, this time, which is the black, and then I'll go for the Worker Gen 3s, then the black Gen 2s, then the Worker Gen 3s. Let's test it out. That one kind of grazed me, but it stung a bit. Maybe I subconsciously didn't aim for myself. So we'll just do this now. Well, that obviously hurt more, even though it was the purple, but now it's... Yeah, the black ones hurt more. Remember, they're hitting a little bit harder. And now we'll do the purple. There's not a huge difference. Every other week with the darts, there's been a bigger difference. These are not the most painful darts, but they're not fun either. I'd say that it's funny. Even though the Aeon Pros hit a little bit harder than the purple, I think the purple hurt more just because the end is a little bit harder. So we'll say a 6.5, 7 out of 10.
To test findability, we've scattered all 3 colours through my backyard, and I've asked my wife to come out, have a look, and see how many she can find.
Okay, and here are the results. So she found my wife found all 10 of the purple ones. She found 9 of the red and 5 of the black. Now remember, this is not an exact science. You've kind of got to compare it to what we've gathered over the last couple of weeks. So we found a range of 5 to 7 of the darts if they're black. We found 10 out of 10 most of the time. Now these, I might have thrown one in the bush. The way I do this is I go like this, I just throw them out there. So one of them could have landed in a place she couldn't see, but my wife said that finding these and finding these are just about the same. So I think we're gonna give it a preferential, we probably found all 10 if we were really honest. Cool, thank you. Okay. So now we want to test durability. Worker Gen 3s are known for the ends ripping off. Remember, I've got the older 407 run, which is the culprit, and we'll check how many times can I fire these into a soft surface over and over and over again until they bust. We'll shoot this children's couch. I fired these darts 15 times each, but this one busted on the 13th. That's the first time we've had a dart bust on the soft durability test. If we have a look at this, I did notice it crumple a couple of times, but it's still pretty much in good nick. All you have to do is stretch it back out again. If I pull the end, that seemed harder to get off than the darts I did last week, which is a surprise because these are cheaper than the bamboos. Very cool. All right, now let's do our hard durability test. So now we're going to do hard durability by basically shooting them straight into the floor and see how many times we can do that before they bust. All right, so surprise, surprise, this exploded on the second shot. As we all know, very poor glue. This one here lasted until 8, then I fired it and it fail fired, and then I chucked it all back together again. This is what it looks after the 10th shot, so that's wrecked. You're not going to be able to use that. And much easier to get the glue out. Now, that's about the same as these two darts. The bamboos and the red the Darts Zone Max. So if you're doing a comparison, durability is about the same across the board. The only ones that are more durable were these green bamboos. Thank you. Now for the data wrap up. So Gen 2, black and red versus Gen 3. So out of the box, we know these are 12 cents. We don't know how much these are going to be, but I had an email exchange with Dean from Blaster Tech last night, and he said he's going to try and get them as close as possible to that, but we don't know what he's going to be charged yet. So we're thinking, I'm going to just say 13 cents, because we don't know, but these are 12. So I think it's going to be on par. Next, in terms of performance, there's no competition. I mean, it's close between the Swift numbers, 281 average, 273 average, but if you look at the Nexus difference, you've only got 146 on the workers, you've got 182 on the Nexus. So, clear winner on the Gen 2s. And I should point out, that's our second best performance next to the worker bamboos. In terms of accuracy, you could see that a few of the worker Gen 3s just failed and died, so I'm only going to give it a 2-star. In terms of the worker Gen 2s, I think they're about on par with the rest except for the worker bamboos. They're a little bit better. In terms of durability, again, no competition. We had, that dart was at 95% capacity, the black one, when we finished. But the worker into soft surface died after 13. In terms of hard durability, it's a landslide. 9 times we fired that one. If you have a look across the board, the only one that's more indestructible is the green bamboo. Okay. Then in terms of pain, maybe my pain threshold's going up. Maybe I was subconsciously not pointing straight at myself, but these ones didn't hurt as much today as the worker bamboos. That 10%, that 10 FPS, I think is a big difference because I was crippled when I got shot with that last one last week. So just going to give it a 7 because the Gen 2s hit slightly harder than the Gen 3s. Now, in terms of findability, for the sake of science, we found 10 of these, but we only found 9 of those. So I have to technically give it to them, but I think, observe the data and there's always outliers. Now, in terms of total ongoing cost, because we lost half the black ones, their price goes up from 28 cents. That's a big jump from 13 cents, right? And that's going to compound over time. But the reds, on par in terms of destructibility and pretty easy to find. I'm just going to push them up by 1 cent. Technically, again, I have to say that these are cheaper just because we found them all. But in reality, I reckon these ones are going to be cheaper in the long run. So, just because of their durability. So, worker Gen 2s are now the second best performing dart behind the worker bamboos, and they are the second most cost effective, maybe first most cost effective, right? So there's almost no competition now. I think these new worker Gen 2s in red from Blaster Tech are going to be the new best dart that you should buy in terms of your ability to keep firing, high performance, usability. If you really want to chase that 10 extra FPS and a little bit of accuracy, you can still go for the bamboos. If you want your the worker bamboos, if you want your darts to be indestructible, you go for the green bamboos. So I want to wrap up by saying none of these are bad darts. They're all good darts. And if you invest in any of them, you're going to have a good time. You're going to have fun. There's little advantages to them. But the big question today is, now that we have these and they're strictly better than these, is there a place for worker Gen 3s anymore? And the big question we haven't really answered is, how do they fly well? But that's a question for another day. Bye.